a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes, it's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Open the pod bay doors now.
Keep your friends close, but your enemies close.
I am nothing! No!
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Get busy living. You get busy dying.
What's going on, everyone? My name's Michael, and welcome to Cinemaze, a podcast where a bunch of mates chat about cinema over some drinks. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, program coordinator of the Sydney Film Festival, Justin Martyniuk. Thanks for coming on to the show. How are you going?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Very good. Keen to get into this. So having Justin on the episode, we'll be talking about not only the history of the Sydney Film Festival itself, but also the amazing slate of films that are being shown this year in 2022. And while we're discussing that, we'll be drinking some Mountain Goat Pale Ales. As always, please make sure you're following the podcast and give us a healthy 5-star review. Also check out the cinemaze YouTube channel where I post video essays on film and TV characters. So getting into it, Justin, what we like to do at the start of these episodes is get an idea of who our guests are and what they like to watch in terms of cinema, with a few divisive questions and a few more deep ones. So getting into it, first question, Robert Pattinson or Andrew Garfield?
Pato.
Why?
I just think he makes like way more interesting choices in the films he does. I think he...
As in like what films he chooses or...
Yeah. And I think like he knows his shtick a little bit. Like Twilight's still very interesting to watch, but he's deviated away from
He sure
it.
has.
You know, he's doing Good Time. He's doing Lighthouse. It's phenomenal stuff.
He's killing it at the moment.
I'm on the Robert Pattinson train. High
Nice.
Life's awesome.
It is. Next question, David Fincher or Adam McKay?
Fincher all the way.
Okay. Big thriller movie fan?
I am a bit of a Fincher fan.
What would be your favorite
my
of
favorite
his
Fincher?
slate?
Social Network.
Okay, nice.
I'm a big
Good
Social
film.
Network fan, yeah.
Next question, Nicole Kidman or Kate Blanchett?
I reckon love them both. I think I'd go Kate Blanchett.
Why?
Love Carol.
Good movie. Next question, The Other Guys or Wedding Crashers?
Look, I've seen both.
Yep.
I don't exactly care for either of them.
Okay, that's all right.
I guess if like
Gun to the head.
yeah.
What are you choosing?
Maybe Wedding Crashers. There's something about like the earlier 2000s kind of shtick that I think I would probably like laugh at more than
The Other Guys.
Than the other guys.
Fair enough. Good answer. Next question, Stranger Things or Game of Thrones?
That's tricky because I think in the beginning, Game of Thrones, but then because
Didn't like the ending?
Did not like the ending. So in my mind, I think I have more positive feelings towards Stranger Things because it hasn't necessarily completely fucked it up.
Yeah, well, not yet. Season 4 is coming out soon, so we'll see what happens there.
See
but
what happens. Apparently, the lengths of the episodes are really long.
yeah, like movie length per episode, so that'll definitely be interesting to see. Getting into the more deep ones, first one, most memorable movie that you saw in cinemas?
Look, there's probably like a different answer. I think maybe I go to movies like a lot.
Okay.
I think maybe the one that's like most recent that I remember being very fun was Titan.
Okay.
Last year at the Sydney Film Festival. And like the day after, it was all in the news and everything, people fainting in the cinema.
Bit of controversy for it.
It was a very divisive audience.
Yeah.
I was pro Titan there at that time.
Nice. Next question, fastest TV show binge?
The Probably the one that comes to mind was I was like back home for a brief second because I'm
Okay.
from Adelaide,
Yep.
and my friend had the DVDs of The Sopranos,
Okay.
but I was only there for 2 weeks, and
And you got through the whole thing.
I got through the whole thing in 2
no
weeks,
way.
so I could like borrow them and then quickly return
Give them back.
Yeah.
Oh my God. How many seasons are there?
It was like 6.
Jeez.
I think,
you
5 or
must,
6.
You mustn't have left the house at all. No, that's some good binging
It
there.
was some long days and nights.
It's very worthy of that as well.
I was probably walking around with an accent at some point. I was
Wanting
fully
to be a
immersed.
gangster.
Yeah.
Next question. Favorite Australian film?
Wake and Fright.
Okay. Haven't seen that myself.
No?
Who's in it?
Pardon?
Who's in it?
I know the lead guy, I can't remember his name. The supporting guy is like one of those Australian, he was British,
Okay.
but he just kind of like popped up in some films. And he was like mostly, I remember him from like The Great Escape.
Okay.
I could not for the life of me remember any names.
Yeah.
But it's
Just good movie.
it's a great movie. It's like people not from Australia, like coming into Australia to make a film about Australia.
Okay. A bit more of a different perspective.
So it's a very different, surreal kind of atmospheric horror perspective of Australian life.
Yeah.
That's it's a little bit like satire as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really wild. I recommend it to anyone that's interested in Australia.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll definitely have to watch it. Next question. Movie that you think everyone needs to see? It's obviously a tough question.
I think everyone should watch Paddington.
Nice.
It is
Such a good movie.
wholesome.
Yeah.
It's hard not to love or feel love
Yeah.
from it.
Absolutely.
It's a great magical experience.
Are you more of a Paddington 1 or a Paddington 2 or both?
Both.
Yeah.
I don't think you can separate them.
Yeah, they're so good.
As good
Always
as one
feeling.
another.
Yeah. Always feeling good after those. Good answer. Next question. Favorite streaming service?
I think Stan.
Okay.
But maybe that's like because of my taste. I love festival movies. I love world movies, and
Stan has a lot of those.
They have a good catalog of stuff that I don't really find elsewhere.
Yeah. Nice. Interesting answer. Last question. TV show that you're watching at the moment?
I'm actually working my way through The Wire.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, kind of halfway through season 4.
Interesting. Yeah. I've like The Wire's always been on my list, and it's obviously, a bit more of an older TV show, but I've heard so many good things about it.
Everyone talks about it.
Yeah.
And like I can see why.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
Liking it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Season 2 is a weird detour, but I kind of
Because each season's different, right?
well,
But it's the same underlying.
that was the premise. Was
Yeah.
like each season would be like a different kind of main case, but
Mm.
there are characters that are kind of linked through it. But
Yeah.
then after season 2, season 3, they were just like, oh, let's scrap that premise and just focus entirely on this thing.
Yeah.
So
cool.
season 2 feels out of place,
Mm.
but I kind of like it for it.
Okay. Interesting. And it's on binge, I'm guessing, because of HBO.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'll definitely give it a watch, The Wire. So getting into the Sydney Film Festival, now a lot of listeners from Sydney, I feel, may not have actually been as just casual moviegoers. So I thought it'd be a good place to start just by talking about the history of it. Firstly, how long has it been running and what actually is it for those novices out there?
Whenever I talk about my job, I get a lot of that. What is
What is
a
it?
film festival? So it's been around since 1954.
Mhm.
It's the second oldest film festival in Australia.
Wow.
Next to Melbourne.
Yep.
Myth. So it's 69. This is the 69th edition of the film festival.
Yep.
Which is a long time.
It is.
And like,
A lot of films.
yeah. And it's a curated program of films that are like really the freshest films of like the current year. And the film festival is all of them like tend to be like Australian premieres
Yeah.
or like the first like screenings of films in the country.
Yeah.
And like some films that we screen in the film festival, they won't play in Australia like,
Outside of it.
potentially ever again.
Yeah.
You know, some
sure.
of them can be really like niche, and a festival gives a platform for films that people otherwise wouldn't see. And like if you go through the history of like the Sydney Film Festival, there's like films that like we've grown up with and like, oh, it's an
Absolutely.
amazing movie. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's screened in the Sydney Film Festival in like 1972 or whatever.
Yeah.
It traces like way back.
I feel like a lot of films that maybe gain a bit more recognition after their release, you don't actually understand where did people actually go see that, and often they're at these amazing festivals. So it's great to kind of actually be able to go to those and, you know, witness them in the flesh.
Yeah, it's the forefront of like films kind of getting their first screenings in Australia and being a part of like that first audience, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, logistically, when is the festival being held this year, and where can people go watch films or go to events within the festival?
So we're screening 8th to the 19th of June.
Yep.
Pretty much all over the city. You can go to a cinema and you can probably find an SFF film playing.
Yep.
We screen at the State Theatre and Events George Street in the city. We're at the Ritz down in Randwick.
Yep.
We're at Dendy Newtown. We're in the Hayden Orpheum up at Cremorne. And we have some sessions down at Palace Central and Palace Norton Street.
Some great cinemas.
Yeah, yeah. And we got some retrospectives happening at the Art Gallery in New South Wales as well. And we have a small program that also plays way out at Casula.
Cool. And where can listeners get tickets to the festival?
Just online, sff.org. Just type in Sydney Film Festival into the old Google bar. It will definitely come up, and browse that program.
There's a lot on there, which we'll get into later. But very easy to get tickets. So just head over to the Sydney Film Festival website. You can go see a countless amount of good films. Now, speaking of, there's a number of awards given each year. What are they?
So we have mainly the official competition.
Yeah.
This is kind of like one of the main highlights of the festival.
For sure.
Which is 12 films, and the winning film, the director gets a cash prize and an award with it.
Yeah.
We have the Documentary Australia award, which is 10 documentaries, all Australian productions. There's that competition. One of the oldest competitions is actually the Dendy Awards for Australian short films, which is, you know, all the guys in film schools and
aspiring filmmakers.
They're all making their first projects, and some of them are pretty impressive.
Nice.
So there's that competition as well that happens.
Yeah.
We have the Sustainable Future Award. We try and promote a sustainable future and being green. And
is that within the filmmaking process, or is it about?
It's about, so it's in subject matter.
Okay.
And it can be a short film, a documentary, a feature, anything to do about climate.
Yeah.
It's a slate of films that are kind of talking about these issues that are affecting us now.
Yeah, for sure. And more so on your own experience, how long have you been involved with the Sydney Film Festival, and what made you kind of want to be a part of it?
I've been with the Sydney Film Festival since 2019.
Okay.
I came from the Adelaide Film Festival originally back home, and I just love film festivals. I started out as a volunteer back in Adelaide.
Oh, wow.
And just kind of loved the festival and wanted to be a part of it. And so I kind of started working there, and then when there was an opportunity with Sydney Film Festival, I just went for it and haven't looked back. Like, it's
Nice.
great being here. Yeah.
Living the dream.
Yeah.
I guess with that, so you started in 2019. We've since had COVID. How did COVID affect the festival, and what did the festival do to kind of deal with not being able to be in cinemas or what have you?
Yeah, it wasn't ideal. Wasn't
To say the least.
yeah. As many people know.
Yep.
We unfortunately had to cancel in 2020.
Okay.
Which was a bit of a blow.
Yeah,
But,
absolutely.
We were then able to actually take a step back, and we were able to very quickly kind of put on a small virtual program. So we streamed the documentary competition, the Dendy Awards, and we had to focus on Women's Strand as well, the EFPs.
Yep.
And it was nice. It was very, very successful. We were really pleased and happy with it. And we were overwhelmed by the response, but it was really lacking that cinema experience. that
Yeah.
is kind of the real lifeblood and like heartbeat
Absolutely.
of, film festivals. So 2021, we were very optimistic to be back in cinemas,
Definitely.
and then more outbreaks decided to happen,
Yeah.
and we made that decision. Instead of canceling, we actually postponed.
Yeah.
And last year we happened in November, which was very, very odd for us because we're always in June.
Was that the first time that it's not been in June?
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Always been in June.
Yeah.
And so it was a weird experience. But we were pleased because we could be in cinemas, and that really felt like what it was about.
Yeah, cool. And now you're back to normal
Back
proceedings.
to normal. Yep.
Good. Now, just before we get into, the amazing program that 2022 has for the festival, as well as your top picks for the year, we'll just have a short ad break and then we'll get straight into it. So there's a huge program of films planned this year, Justin, and there's been some amazing films at the Sydney Film Festival in the past. So just before we dive in, how do you think this year compares to previous years since being there?
Oof. I think the program since I've been there, and this is purely coincidental, have been like solid gold.
Yeah.
Like 2019, we had Bong Joon-ho here and we screened Parasite. Last year, like
Huge.
we had Titan, and that was like mental. Like there were big, strong programs.
Yeah.
And this year, it feels like after COVID's happened, it's kind of sucked and drained all of the big films that were holding off, and the floodgates kind of opened.
Yeah.
And this year's like some amazing films, but they feel smaller.
Okay.
They're a bit more like indie. They're a bit more like interesting. So it's not as like a A-lister lineup.
Yep.
But I think for the real cinephiles out there, it's something that people will really dig their teeth into, and it's really exciting.
Absolutely. Keen. And what has the reception been like with now being able to kind of actually be in the cinemas instead of streaming online?
The response has been really positive. People are just keen. There's the audience for SFF. Everyone has like their little SFF rituals. And I think like the missing ritual in their lives is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So
Back in order.
yeah, because like we one of the models we have is we have a subscriber base, and so the subscribers are people who have a particular seat in the State Theatre.
Oh,
and
cool.
They pay for their seat and they go to all the daytime films
In that seat.
in that seat.
Cool.
And same for the evening subscribers. And so that audience in particular, like this is a big time of the year for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, there's obviously a huge amount of films on the program itself, and we could talk about them all day. But as the program coordinator, I thought it'd be good for the listeners to hear what your top picks are for the program. First and foremost, there's 12 films in the official competition for the Sydney Film Prize that you mentioned earlier. Past winners include 2019's Parasite, which you mentioned, 2009's Bronson, just to name a few. This year in the main category, what are your top picks?
I think one of my favorite films of the whole program actually is Fire of Love.
Okay.
It's a documentary, which there's not always like a lot of documentaries in the
In the
official
main one?
competition.
Yeah.
When there is, it's something really, really special.
Okay. Is it the only documentary in the main category?
In the official competition, yeah.
Cool.
And it's about two volcano scientists back in like the 60s onwards. It's all archival footage, and they were a married couple. And it was about not just like their relationship together, they were also quite popular in the media. And so they did a lot of TV spots, and they have like quite very witty and funny, like humorous personalities. That's great for TV. And then you have that story with this backdrop of them hanging out in volcanoes. It's like
As you do.
It's insane footage.
Yeah.
How close they were just dipping their feet into like lava pools.
Oh my God.
And their clothes are melting off them. They're ridiculous.
That's so. Did they like die?
So they
because of
passed
volcanoes,
away, which was no spoiler because it tells you at the start of the film.
Okay.
But it kind of looks back at all of this footage that they've captured researching volcanoes, and it pieces together a narrative of their lives and highlights that, and it's really, really, really beautiful.
Wow. Any other sort of main picks in the main category?
I think one of the ones I'm really looking forward to seeing is a film called You Won't Be Alone. It's a feature debut from Goran Stilevski, who is actually an SFF alumni. He's had some short films play with us.
Oh, wow.
So it's very exciting to see his feature film length, and playing in competition like is huge. And it played earlier in Sundance this year, and it got rave reviews and was very popular, and stars Numi Rapace.
Awesome.
From Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah.
And it's like a Macedonian witch horror.
Sounds very niche and interesting. Oh my God.
Yeah, but apparently it slaps.
Okay.
I'm very keen for it.
Interesting.
We also have Close by Lucas Dont. This is another one that I'm very much looking forward to. Lucas' previous film, Girl, was around in like 2018.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful film, and I think I'm just really excited to see what he's doing next.
Yeah. Is this his next project since then? Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
I'm also keen to see Return to Seoul, which from Davey Chu, who's had films previously in the festival as well. This film has just premiered at Cannes to some really, really warm reviews.
Wow.
And it sounds like it kind of displaced person returning back to Korea and where she's from, but it also like mixes this kind of entertaining comedic tone that's a bit lighter, like Frances Ha.
Okay.
And going through that kind of identity, nationality crisis.
Interesting. And in that sense, then, is it more of a comedy, or is it drama, or a bit of both?
I think it's a dramedy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice. Now, the special presentation strand within the collection includes a selection of highly anticipated premieres, as well as a few local highlights. Within that, what are the top films that you'd recommend to the Cinemates community?
I think one of the films that is really exciting is a film called Cha Cha Real Smooth.
Yep.
This young 20-year-old guy called Cooper Rafe in the US, he made a film recently called Shithouse, and it just does the archetype coming of age, going through college story, and it hits all the like familiar tropes, but he does it so well that it actually feels refreshing.
Cool. And he's that young that he's drawing from his own experience?
Exactly. Like he's just this young guy that's just got clearly too much talent. And Cha Cha Real Smooth is his second film.
Oh, wow.
Which is the talk of Sundance this year.
Wow.
Everyone said it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Has Dakota Johnson.
Oh my God.
He stars in the films himself as well. So acting and directing.
Oh
That's
my
a lot.
God. What? Oh my God. So he's that talented. He's doing both.
Yeah.
He's got an A-list actress in there as well. Oh my God. What am I doing with my life?
So yeah, it makes you question, what you've accomplished a little bit when you see this guy.
Definitely have to see it. Any other big ones?
I think one of the exciting films is The Forgiven by John Michael McDonough. He previously had films called The Guard and Calvary, which were also played in SFF earlier.
Yep.
Some people maybe know his brother Martin McDonough, who did In Bruges and
Oh, yeah.
3 Billboards.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's the
Talented
McDonough
family.
brothers.
Yeah.
Exactly. So he has like a similar kind of tone
Okay.
and style to Martin as well.
To those films?
He's way more of like a brooding kind of drama.
Okay. A bit more dark.
Bit more darker, introspective.
Yeah.
But he's not without like the humor.
Okay. Cool.
Whereas Martin tends to be like way more pulpy, kind of think of like the action of like 7 Psychopaths, and
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
he's a bit more violent.
Yeah.
Whereas John is a bit more of a drama. And so The Forgiven is a very exciting new film from him.
Nice.
I think I want to talk about one film that I'm very excited to see. Is called Lonesome, which is a Sydney-made film. And it's
Based in Sydney as part of the story as well?
yeah.
Okay.
He screened his film Teenage Kicks in the festival some years ago. And so this is his follow-up film, Craig Borum. And it's about a guy who is navigating online dating. This is a gay man navigating, going on Grindr and hooking up with people, but then
in Sydney,
kind of feeling the disconnect at the same time when you're looking for love and you're not really finding it. And
interesting.
Meeting some people who he makes connections with, but there's in this kind of new online space, people kind of swipe and move on. So it's navigating all of that I think is a really poignant drama.
Interesting. I don't think that's really been kind of explored within film as well, right? No, that sounds really interesting. And I guess within kind of the other strand, so there's the feature strand as well, which includes prize winners from other festivals, which we kind of talked about already, as well as new works that deserve to be known. Within that collection, what are your sort of top picks from there?
I think one of my favorite films that I really, really wanted to like push to get into the festival, and I love it, is Inu O.
Okay.
He's a Masaki Yuasa's an anime director, and Inu O is this glam rock Japanese folklore queer musical
anime as well.
Anime movie. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's about like a guy who has like some physical deformities.
Yep.
And so because of that, he can't be a no performer because of the kind of strict rules around it. The villagers are kind of like shunning him.
Right.
And he's on the fringes of society. But then he meets a biwa player who is blind. And so because he's blind, he doesn't actually see his kind of features.
Yeah.
And so he plays the biwa, and this allows him to dance and express himself. And together they then actually form like this, it's very like anachronistic because the songs are like Guns N' Roses covers and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And it turns into this whole glam rock musical theater.
Yeah, yeah. Cool.
And the animation's just exquisite.
Awesome. Is it from any of the big kind of anime studios, or is this like his own?
Yuasa's he's got like a huge cult following.
Okay.
He's mainly known for a film from the early 2000s called Mind Game.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's got like a big following. So the anime fans who know him love him. And then if it's your first time, like it's a great trip.
For sure. Any other big picks that you would recommend in the feature strand?
I think for anyone that's like really interested in just the weird films,
Mm.
the absolute wacky stuff,
Yeah.
Quentin Dupieux, Canadian French film director who is someone to know. He makes surreal films. Some people like might know Rubber, which is about a tire that blows people up, or Deerskin, which was pretty popular a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Incredible But True is his latest film that we have in the festival. And it's about this older couple or like middle age, and they've decided, you know what, now's the time to buy a house.
Yeah.
And so they're going around with the agent, and the agent goes, I've got the house just for you, but wait till you see what's in the basement.
Oh God, what's in the basement?
Well, you might have to see the film to find out.
Okay. Nice one. Any other ones that you recommend?
I think another film that I really like that's in the program is one called Millie Lies Low.
Yeah.
This is like a small indie film from New Zealand. Anna Scotney in it. She plays someone who has this very prestigious architecture scholarship to go to New York.
Yeah.
But the start of the movie, she's like on the plane and she has a panic attack and has to get off the
Oh, no.
plane. But because this is like a big thing for her and her friends and her family, they're
Yeah.
all like proud of her, she can't really like face confronting the fact that she didn't get on the plane. So she's filled with shame, but then when she tries to get onto another flight and she's spent all of her money, she has to lie low in the streets of Wellington until she can get the money to get
my
onto a
God.
second flight.
Yeah.
So then she starts going down this rabbit hole of having to pretty much show everyone online that she's in New York
Yeah.
when really she's still in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And
Oh my
so
God.
it's kind of Michelle Seville, she gets the tone really well in this is a character that you're kind of going through and empathizing with the experiences of anxiety.
Yeah.
But at the same time, all of these hilarious antics of
To compensate.
trying to pretend like online that you're in New York when
Yeah.
in reality you're in your mum's backyard.
In New Zealand.
Yeah.
That sounds really cool. Any other films that you're, really excited for or would recommend to listeners to go see?
I think I haven't seen this one, but I think one that maybe is like a good like entry film for going to a festival is Emily the Criminal.
Okay.
This has Aubrey Plaza in it from
Yep.
Parks and Rec. I think I love Aubrey. I think she's so funny.
She's hilarious.
And this was a successful film coming out of Sundance as well. And she
Okay.
does a lot of
Is
kind
it
of indie films.
Comedy as well?
It is a comedy. She's accumulated so much student debt that she kind of falls down this rabbit hole of having to do some criminal acts to actually like compensate. And it's a comedy of errors where things start to accumulate. And it's a little bit of like a serious tone to it, but
Okay.
it's a lot of fun as well.
Interesting. What other ones should listeners go see?
If there are any cinephile fans that haven't seen Old Boy, we are screening the 4K restoration of the film.
Wow.
And if you haven't seen Old Boy, just go see Old Boy. It will be one of the most insane things you've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's one of those films that when you see it, you feel compelled to rope all of your friends and family
To go
into
see.
also seeing it. And
That's when you
something-
know as well.
Yeah, it's something that will stay singed in your brain, in your retinas, for the rest of your life.
Wow. That's a huge call. You definitely got to go see Old Boy if you haven't. Any other ones? Maybe not to that caliber, but
Maybe not to that
any other
caliber.
picks?
We also have like heaps of other strands in the festival, and I
Yeah.
think maybe listeners will like our Sounds on Screen strand. It's a strand that's like focusing on films that have to do with music.
Yeah.
And so if there's any like Yeah fans or LCD Sound System,
Okay.
we have the documentary Meet Me in the Bathroom,
Yeah.
which is named after the book of the same name. And it was about like that generation of indie rock bands that were all emerging and starting at the early 2000s. And so it was really great like footage of those gigs around that time.
Yeah.
When it was kind of exiting the 90s and it was entering like this new kind of indie rock persona.
Yeah.
And these bands that were just starting out and kind of redefining the genre.
Interesting.
It's a great documentary. And then we also have the film that's kind of really cool is Six Festivals, which is a Australian indie film. But it's about 3 kids who traverse going around all of these music festivals. And it's got some great stuff from like G-Flip, Hilltop Hoods, Alice in Wonderland. Like there's so many big bands and acts that were willingly like happy to like participate in this movie and have like their stage presence like a part of it.
That's so cool.
So that sounds like it's going to be like a lot of fun.
Yeah, cool. And is that are they like, young adults within it?
They're like teenagers.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
teenagers. That one of them is got cancer, and so it's kind of like a last hurrah. for
Going to
him,
all these
taking to all
festivals.
these festivals.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good one. Any other last sort of recommendations?
I think if there's any David Lynch fans, check out the Lynch Oz documentary.
Okay.
It's about his obsession with the Wizard of Oz and how all films, in a way, root back to the Wizard of
Really?
Oz. Yeah.
What about like June?
Look, there's a lot of fantasy elements.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sure that David Lynch would probably have something to say.
Got to see the documentary.
I don't think The Wizard of Oz is the root of everything, but I
Yeah.
think that there's something transfixing about escaping reality and entering a fantasy world
Yeah.
that's definitely replicated by all of cinema.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all
That
go
sort of escapism. Yeah.
Exactly. We all go sit in a dark room and we drift off to sleep in some way and we
Yeah.
go into a new world.
We do, for sure. Interesting. And are there any other sort of aspects to the Sydney Film Festival that set it apart from just, going to the movies every day?
I think like one thing that some people don't realize that's really cool about film festivals is we have like the filmmakers and cast like come.
Yeah.
I mean, not for every film because there's there's 200 films in the program.
Yeah.
But when you see like a film on screen and it's something unexpected and you're like, wow, that was incredible.
Yeah.
And then 2 seconds afterwards, the director is there in front of you.
Yeah.
It's an insane experience, and hearing from them talk about the craft that goes into what they've made.
Yeah.
It's terrific insight. And so I think that's an experience that really sets festivals different from just going to the regular movies.
Absolutely. And I think, obviously with streaming services, it's very easy to just kind of watch something on a laptop at home and you don't kind of, not that you have to be interested in it, but you don't kind of get the perspective of who actually made this, like what went into this production. You're just seeing it on a laptop. Whereas being able to see it in cinema, see them after and answer questions about their approach, how they made it, just takes it to another level.
It's entering a dialogue,
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's sharing an experience, and it's not just like with the filmmaker that's there. It's also like with the audience too.
Yeah.
And if it's an Australian film, like you're surrounded by the people who, a lot of them they probably like worked on it or like
Yeah, absolutely.
it's their son's movie or whatever.
That's so cool. And there's also, from what I understand, there's also talks and kind of panels being held within the festival.
Yeah, so some films will have like a Q&A or an introduction like in the cinema, but then you can also go to a lot of the talks and the panels that happen down at the hub by Town Hall.
Yeah.
And there you can sit and actually hear like full-length conversations with people from the industry or the filmmakers themselves talking about the films that they've made.
Yeah.
It's that insight that kind of sets it apart and makes it special.
Absolutely. And any other sort of last minute inside information that the listeners would be keen to hear?
I think like a lot of people find like going to a festival kind of overwhelming and like don't know how to like navigate purchasing a ticket to it.
Yeah.
I really recommend like if you want to see something, I want to see this movie, you can buy a single ticket. But
Yep.
if there's like a bunch of things you want to see, or if you've got mates that want to like see something, you can buy a flexi pass, which is, if you buy like a flexi 5, 10, 20, you can actually just share that, and a lot of the time people all divvy in
Yeah.
and then actually just share the flexi.
That's a good tip.
If you're used to having that 20-minute buffer of going to the movies and you're like, oh, I can wait in the candy bar for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Out of the festival, we don't actually have 20 minutes of trailers.
Okay. There's no ads or trailers.
We have a very tight 5 minutes. So, and all the films will start on time because it's a jam-packed schedule. So there's no time to like wait around for everyone to get into their seats. So it just starts playing and you've got, 3 to 5 minutes to get in there and watch the movie, really.
Cool. And just as well, seeing some things recently where the director of the festival was at Cannes and announced some more titles to the program. So are we to expect that there might be some other films to join in?
Definitely expect it.
Okay.
I can't say what's coming.
Can't tell us yet.
As exciting as that is.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I'm very excited knowing a couple of the things that are coming down. But the late announced titles, they'll be on the website and they'll be announced kind of the week of the festival. And they're often just the freshest films from Cannes.
Okay.
Which normally carries so much hype with them.
Absolutely. If you're a listener out there and you don't quite know what Cannes is, Cannes one of the big film festivals held in France. And if you follow kind of, big movie pages on social media, you'll see a lot of kind of standing ovations for a lot of films. So maybe they'll be at the Sydney Film Festival and they kind of usually end up being a lot of the kind of big award season films as well. So could be some big ones being added. Very keen to hear what comes to Sydney.
They're the best, most anticipated films of the year.
Wow.
Cannes defines and shapes like the film festival industry in a weird way.
Absolutely. So listeners, you've heard it from Justin. Got a huge program and potentially some even more huge films being added as well. So get down to the Sydney Film Festival.
So it's 8th to 19th of June.
Yep.
And it's held at the State Theatre, Events George Street. If you're in Randwick, go down to the Ritz. If you're in Cremorne or on the North Shore, go to the Orpheum.
Yep.
Check out Dendy Newtown. We're all over the place.
Absolutely.
And go see some movies.
That's it. And head over to the Sydney Film Festival website. Really easy to get tickets. And as you heard before, you can get a flexi pass, share it with your mates, family, whatever. You can see heaps of movies. You've heard Justin's recommendations. So this year's festival is going to be an absolute cracker. I know I'll definitely be heading there and watching heaps of movies. So looking forward to it. So that is a wrap for the Sydney Film Festival 2022 episode. Thanks so much for listening in to this episode of Cinemates, a podcast where a bunch of mates chat about cinema over some drinks. Huge thank you to Justin for coming on the podcast and talking about the festivals. Great chatting with you.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
No worries. And as always, please let us know what you want to hear about in future episodes. And if you want to send in a mailbag or do an elevator pitch to me, send us a DM on Instagram or TikTok at cinemaze_. Otherwise, we'll catch you for the next episode. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Cinemates. Make sure to follow us and leave a review on your chosen streaming platforms. Also, check out our Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube channel for more Cinemaze content. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge Australia's First Nations people as the traditional owners and custodians of the land and pay respect to the Cammeraygal people of the Eora Nation upon whose country Cinemaze is based. We honour the storytelling and culture of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities across Australia. Also, in the spirit of chatting with mates, remember it's always important to check in with those around you. Whether it's friends, family, or colleagues, sometimes they may be going through a hard time, and chatting with them may reassure them that they aren't alone. If you or anyone you know is ever struggling, call Lifeline on 13 11 14.